Hello, I'm Jimmy Bach, and this is History with Jimmy, along with Nico, who's doing the filming and editing on this particular episode. And we're here at one of the secret organizations that was here in Shickshinny called the International Order of Oddfellows at the building here. It's in 1911 it was built, and we were able to save this building from being ripped down, and now there's a kids' library and a museum. So we're going to go up the steps and we're going to show you the museum and some of the things we have. And
Filming.
okay, here's how you get in. You got to ring the bell and say a password to get into the museum. This is another one of the things, secret organizations, you had to say a password in order to get into their meetings and events that they were having on. So come on in to the FLT Museum. Okay, here's a picture of what this room looked like when we purchased this building going back a number of years. The roof was coming down. When I negotiated to buy this building, there was a lot of work to be done up here, and we were able to do it. And there was an apartment up here. There were dead cats. There was garbage. There were clothes. You could not even see the floor. So this is one of the things that we have to show what it was when we started. So we're going to go into the main room right now where the museum is. I invite you to come in. So here we are. Here's the FLT Museum. Again, this was an Oddfellows building, one of 4 secret organizations that was in Shickshinny, and we are the greater Shickshinny area, both the business and historical society. So we cover a large area. We have a lot of documents. We have a lot of different things. And if you're interested in doing a tour, it takes a good hour and a half here to do a nice tour to explain, because I don't think you should have to just come in and look at pictures and not know what they're about. So we'll explain everything to you. One of the oldest things that we have right here is an indentured deed on lambskin. And this is very old. This was about a man and a woman selling to another man and a woman. Women did not have rights back then. So this was donated by attorney Brian Caverly, who him and Jake Bluta actually started the Historical Society. And so we're going to swing over to here. You can see some of the churches that we have. Different churches that were here. Here's the first church built in Makanakwa. A month after this picture was taken for a funeral of a boy who died, the church burnt down and they rebuilt another church. We have the Ascension Church, which is no longer there. It's now a pizza parlor. We have the Methodist Church. Here's the Baptist Church, which is the oldest church in Shickshinny. At that time it was called Methodist Protestant because both the Methodists and the Presbyterians were members and owned shares in that church. When we come down to here, we have a lot of different items. This is one of the most interesting items we have. I found this in an attic, and this was actually made in Germany. This was actually a working children's sewing machine, and you can see the condition of it's in excellent condition. And one way that you could tell it's older, it's got a wooden spool, not a plastic spool onto it. So, like I said, this is just one of the sections here that we have. As we go down here, here we have pictures of going back to the early 1900s. These are all from the Presbyterian Church, the baseball team. We're not sure about this particular picture. These gentlemen are all dressed up. They're all holding 2 things in their hand, and nobody can tell us what that is or why they're doing that. So that's just one of the things when you come to the museum, you'll be able to see and ask some questions about. As we go back here, here's a thing, because Shickshinny, actually, because of having a canal here, was actually what made Shickshinny. And a gentleman made this replica to show people how canals work, of raising and lowering the water, and to make the canals work. And also an interesting point is as well, we have a book written by Charles Petrella, who recently just passed away and who came here for a tour, a local historian. There were actually steamboats on the Susquehanna River. And it's a very interesting book. Cheryl has it downstairs at the library. You can come take the book out. I'm sure you'd enjoy reading that if you have any interest in boats and the river and everything else. And then here you'll see pictures of the canal that was actually in Shickshinny. And here's a canal here showing how big it was. Here's an aqueduct that was here that was used to help raise and lower the water. And then here's a picture showing the mules pulling the boat down the canal, and the train stopped to watch it. And there's a picture, I believe it's where Retreat Hospital, and it was a poor farm and eventually became a prison. So here we have, this was donated, a lot of these were just donated by Mr. Larry Rameli and his wife of different ones of lanterns because there was no electricity. Probably the one that's most valuable is this. It's called a power blast. And the reason for it being called that was they redefined these and put holes through the bottom. And this would create more air to make this light brighter than some of the other ones. They have a smaller one here that would have been used maybe by the kitchen table when they were eating or reading. There were some here used for trains. So we have a lot of different artifacts here to tell you about and such. And then we have here I call it the Andy Griffith phone. Because this, if you watched Andy Griffith, he had a phone like that on there. And then we have some other phones, the dial phone. We have the first cell phone there, and we have the first pay phone. I've had a couple of the younger generation that come that don't know how to use these items. So there. And then we have the Civil War display. And this was donated by Mr. Lipinski. He was a collector, and he also was a reenactor. And he came to the museum, and he was impressed with everything. And he said, I have things that I want to donate to you. I don't want them sold. He could have got a lot of money for a lot of these items. And one in particular is very, very rare. And I tell people when you come here, you're going to hold history in your hand. And this is an original bullet that was given to somebody that was wounded on the battlefield. They were told to bite the bullet. That's where the phrase came from, bite the bullet. They were given a shot of whiskey and bit the bullet. If they were being amputated on the battlefield, this is what they would have been used. And so this is real history. And these were items that were gotten before they put the thing that you weren't allowed to go on the battlefield and take relics back. But he was able to do that before that, and he's donated all these items. And so we're so glad Mr. Lipinski donated them to us. And we have some mining stuff because, of course, Shickshinny, Mackinac, Glen Lyon, all the surrounding communities had mining operations, and that's where most of the employment was. And this was donated by Kenny Yvonne, and this is from the early 1900s, and this is what they would use to, when they got done drilling the hole to put the dynamite in, to make the dynamite explode. And it would push down on this, it would send a charge in, and the dynamite would explode and release the coal that was on the bank and stuff. So that's another thing. And here we have the musical sections, which we have a lot of different musical items here. One of the older items that we have is this particular banjo, and it's got some signatures on it. The lady that I got it from said that her family was from Nashville. So I don't know if Grandpa Jones or anybody from Hee Haw played this, but there's a lot of signatures here. And on the very back, there's other signatures, and it says Gettysburg. So I did not get any more information on that particular lady, but it's nice to have something this old. And then the other piece we have is this. This is from 1894. And this is something that Mother Maybelle Carter from the Johnny Cash family would have played. It has 30-some strings on it. It's not in the best of condition, but it's something to be able to show. This is some of the musical items that were used initially going way back to the 1800s. This one, I think, is from 1894. So now we come to the military section and the secret organizations that were here, some of the things that we have. And We have a gentleman here by the name of Mike Santora, who was a medic in World War II. His Purple Heart, all of his medals. He actually saved a gentleman's life named Alfred Schmidt. And Alfred wrote a poem about him. It was published in a newspaper. And so he, the family, when Mike passed away, had this engraved on his tombstone. So here you can see, as I said, we're in an Oddfellows building. We have some posters. This is a very, very early poster of the Oddfellows. This is Thomas Wiley, who actually started this. And here it was. This is a pretty rare poster as well. And there you can see that he was a little bit older than he was here. So this one is obviously much earlier in the Oddfellows and stuff. And then we have some other things here from the Oddfellows. These are some of the things that they used and what they did. And we have a gentleman here who was in the Oddfellows, and we had somebody that donated the Civil War gun, and that gun belonged to this gentleman right here. So that's pretty unique. And we also have one of the secret organizations called the Junior Orders of United American Mechanics. They had their name changed many different times. You can see the symbol of the Oddfellows there, who started this organization, and then somebody put the arm and hammer in the center, and there was some controversy about that. But they, like many organizations, they were anti-Catholic, anti-immigration. In this particular organization, you had to be 16 to 21, you had to be white, you had to believe in God, you didn't believe in drinking, and they believed in free education for all American citizens. So this is probably one of the rare posters that we have here at the FLT Museum. Here we have a very, very rare map. When I got this, I almost threw it away. It was in a garbage bag in the bottom of a box. People gave us some items, and it's the pattern you'll see is very rare with the 13 stars. I believe this flag is from the late 1800s to early 1900s, and we preserved this. We spent $1,500 to preserve this particular flag, and we're probably the only museum that has a golden eagle. And the golden eagle was given to us by Mr. Heller from Heller's Orchards, and it belonged to an organization called the Patriotic Order Sons of America. Now, all these organizations that we have here, and we go into detail when we give you a tour, but the fact is that they all did good things at the very end. Initially, maybe like the Junior Orders of America, they shot people and stuff. And here we have the Patriotic Order Sons of America. There you can see George Washington. There's Christopher Columbus, the Mayflower, the whole history there. These two items were given to us by the Geis family. Tom Geis gave them to us, and we're eternally grateful to be able to have that. And this eagle was the mascot for the Patriotic Order Sons of America for the Walpin organization started by Mr. Heller's father. And here you can see we have pictures from the Spanish-American War. And then here's one that we just did. This is Robert Marshall. Very interesting story. We did a YouTube episode on this, History with Jimmy. I don't remember the number of it. But very interesting story about Mr. Marshall was that he quit school two months before it ended to join the World War II effort. He was fought in the Battle of the Bulge. He was injured. He had 3 amputations to save his life. He went on to become a Justice of the Peace, and then became a magistrate for 48 years. That is almost unheard of for somebody to be elected in that position for 48 years. He did many different things. If you go to the episode, you will hear Brian Caverly and Jake Beluda also telling the story about him. And he was a very good person. I graduated with his son, and we recognized him at the last community mixer banquet. And here is another Very rare piece. This would have been something in World War I. These would have been handmade. You see my grandson and I, Chandler Holmes, who does the producing of the YouTube episodes, History with Jimmy, and we found this flag in a suitcase when we were moving things upstairs. And this is rare because of the 7 stars. Each star represented somebody that was serving in World War I, and so it's rare because most of them you will see 3 or 4, but never 7. So I believe that this flag belonged to either a church or a business that had members in it. And if somebody passed away, they would sew a gold star in center telling this. And these would have been displayed in the window of people that had family members. When we go back to World War I, we have a lot of items right here. And we have the story, and believe it or not, World War I ended because of a bugle. And we have the story. I'm not going to tell you about it. You need to come to the museum, and I'll show you there. We also have the gas mask from World War I. Because mustard gas was used, they had to wear gas masks. We have an original helmet from World War I, and then we have this item. This item is very, very rare. This was used in World War I and also in the mines. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. You need to come to the museum for a tour, and I'll display it for you. Over here we have some different posters from World War I, and we also have, this was very interesting, the Press Enterprise did a great story on this, as did Channel 16. Margaret Kittle was cleaning out her closet and found that this envelope was here along with the picture of her Uncle John Quick and his obituary. And so I didn't think anything of it with the envelope until I saw a seal on it. And when I opened up the envelope after she had left, here's a letter from King George V thanking the American soldiers for coming to England's aid in World War I. This is rare. It's obviously not the original, but it is a copy, and I've seen 2 others in museums across the United States. So here we also have some World War I soldiers. Here's Jesse Thomas, the American Legion on 239. It's named after him. We have a lot of history about World War I and soldiers. We have books of names of the soldiers that were in World War I from this particular area, the 109th Field Artillery. And so that's pretty interesting in itself. Then we have these pictures are from World War I, and these had a stamp on the back of them of being from Pearl Harbor. But the most important picture is this one right here, Her Majesty's Ship the Hood. This is the one that Hitler sent out the ships to sink this ship. This is here before it got sunk, and then Churchill sent out all the ships and submarines to find the Bismarck, which was the ship that sunk this, and they ended up getting that ship. The torpedo hit the propeller, the ship had to go round and round, and they were able to sink it. There was actually a movie made about that. And then, of course, we have Native Americans. We have some of the artifacts here that were donated by Ben Jones. And the library downstairs that Cheryl's has, they're doing stories about Native American Indians. If any of you are watching the Ken Burns episode right now on the Revolutionary War, it tells about what we did to the Native American Indians and the conflicts and wars that happened because of that, and how we actually treated the Native Americans. And so we do have some stories here, and of course, this area, Shickshinny, Mackinac, Nanticoke, Walpolpin, Nescapec, all are Indian names. So that's something that's important for this whole area. And our motto here is, we want those that come after us to know about those who came before us and the sacrifices that they made in order to make our lives easier today. And that's the motto of this museum as we try to teach the younger generation and ask them to talk to their grandparents and aunts and uncles about what they went through, whether it was the Great Depression, the World Wars, the Korean conflicts, Vietnam. It's important that we preserve this history, because if we don't, it's gone forever. And that's what we do here at the FLT Museum. So here we have another secret organization, and it was called the Red Man's Organization. And believe it or not, the Revolutionary War had something to do with why this organization started. But I'm not going to tell you that till you come to the museum for a tour. Then we have some of the old artifacts. Here is an actual radio from World War I. And you can see, believe it or not, that's a speaker that's on top of there. It's a very heavy item. And also we have something that's very rare. These are actual records. This one was done by Irving Berlin. It's colored, they're double-sided. I don't remember who gave them to us, but the fact is that they're very rare with the picture. They're in great condition. You can see the double-sided to them and stuff. And I had them framed so that they did not get into somebody to be able to play them and ruin them, because they are pretty rare. I have seen some on eBay, but they're very not in the same condition as what these are. And here we were just donated this item. This is a 1925 radio, and that's very, very heavy. I had a hard time carrying this up the steps. And these would have been where the speakers would have went, and this was donated to us. We cleaned it up, and we're glad that we have something. And then here's something that's very rare. This is from the 1940s. This is a musical box that was actually made in Switzerland, and it plays two tunes, Mary Had a Little Lamb and Happy Birthday. So this is pretty rare to be able to have something like this. The top had a picture on it, so we're going to turn it off here. It had a picture on it, but that's not there any longer. And then we have, this was one of the last tube TVs that I worked on. This is right after World War II, and I'll just read to you what it said about televisions. Initial public response was weak, sets were expensive, and not many programs to watch. Early TV actors had to wear green makeup to look normal and swallow salt tablets to prevent sweating under hot camera lights. World War II interrupted television development for public use. And we actually have one that was right here after that. And then we have the ship SS Shickshinny. President Woodrow Wilson's second wife was a descendant of Pocahontas, and she was given the privilege to name 25 merchant marine ships. Shickshinny submitted its name. She accepted it. This is the second ship made. Here it is. Natalie Beach Curry was sent down by Shickshinny people to christen the ship. And this again was donated by attorney Brian Caverly. The picture and the article about the ship was donated by Cordelia Geis. And then, believe it or not, we actually had a famous baseball player who was friends with Babe Ruth, and he grew up here, right here in Shickshinny. And we actually did a YouTube episode on it. His name was Carl Zawadzki. He played for 5 major league teams. He played for the one team that beat the Yankees in the World Series. He was friends with Babe Ruth. A month before Babe Ruth died, Babe Ruth and his doctor visited Carl, and we had a picture. We're probably the first museum that actually has a picture right behind him. We have a poster in the window you could see from the outside, and the Press Enterprise did a great story on him, telling his life as a baseball player. So many people knew him, and we have a great story about that as well. So here we just have some pictures of some different schools that were here in the Shickshinny area, Huntington Mills and Shickshinny, different times. We have different artifacts in the cabinets there that are pretty rare. Then we have something that they actually talked about with Ken Burns' documentary, is the Bill of Rights. And we're going to do a YouTube episode on this. This actually came out of a school right here in Shickshinny that was built in the 1920s, and before it got ripped down, we got this Bill of Rights thing. And most kids today don't know anything about that. Another interesting article we have is this particular map. This is a 3D. It was from 1892 to 1897. It's about Africa. And here you can see it's spelled Congo with a K instead of a C. and also it said Free State. So obviously things have changed there, but this is very, very rare. This was donated to us by David Kessler and his family. This is 3D. You can see the mountains. I'm just amazed that from the age of this came out of the first school in Shickshinny. And then, of course, we have George Washington's picture, which also came out of that school there. So we will be doing an episode about the Revolutionary War and some of the artifacts that we have. And then, of course, this was a mining area, as we talked about. This was a story that we did. It's about men that were trapped in the mines for 6.5 days. And 2 of them got out. And we did a YouTube episode on it, so I'm not going to get into much details about it, but the fact is that that this was what happened with mines and men and children that were stuck in the mines, and we have another room that will be showing you some of the pictures that we have there as well. This was the original bank that we had. This was not the first bank, but it was built, First National Bank, and unfortunately Wells Fargo ripped this bank down. And it took a lot of business away from it in the area. It was after one of the floods, but it was built out of concrete and marble. It was a very well-built bank, and unfortunately it's no longer there, but we do have a picture to show what it used to be like. And then we have articles up on top here about the mines. Here's a lunchbox that is pretty rare, because here's the original one. This is an earlier one where at the very top they could put liquid in there, whether it be coffee or soup, and their lunch below it. And so this is a pretty rare item. And then we have a book here that actually fell out of a wall that people were remodeling, and they were able to tell the story of the different nationalities that worked in the mines. And it's actually printed in 5 different languages so that those nationalities could understand how much they were getting paid for each job that they did in the mines. And it was actually printed for the miners in Macanaqua. So that's a pretty rare book, and the fact that it fell out of the wall when people were remodeling, and we actually have 2 of them. We have one on display we can show you, and we have one that's put away. And then we have one of a football coach by the name of Walt Michaels. His daughter loans us this picture. He actually was a coach for the New York Jets, and his brother played for the Baltimore Colts at the time in Super Bowl III, and this is the one Joe Namath was involved in. But I believe Walt Michaels played a significant role in the Jets beating the Baltimore Colts in that particular Super Bowl. And then we have this other picture right here. So then this cabinet was here. It's full of scrapbooks and so many things. Cheryl started to categorize a lot of these books, but if you want to come in and sit down, we have another room we're going to show you. It has a table there. You can sit down and look through yearbooks going back to 1925, the 28 and the 30s and 40s of the area, Shickshinny, and you're welcome to come and do that, or any of the scrapbooks that we have. So now we're going to go into the mining room. And here you can see, as you look around, all the different pictures of mines, the Macanaqua coal history right there. We have pictures of what Macanaqua, an aerial view. You can see a little bit of what the mines were left. This is one of the most interesting pictures we have. This was given to me by Doris Davenport, and this was her sister, who was a postmistress at the end of the bridge, this cement bridge that you see there on the picture. She was there, and this was in the early 1900s, and generally women did not get those jobs there. So what's interesting about this is, regardless of your political affiliation, I said to Doris, I said, Doris, how long was your sister the postmistress there? And she thought about it for a minute. She said, well, she was there till the Democrats took over. So there were politics even going back, even back in the 1900s and stuff. So we have a picture here of Italy Street in Macanaqua. of the buildings that the mining companies built for the miners. They could stay in these buildings as long as they worked for the mining companies and stuff. And we have another picture here of Hartville. A lot of people don't know where that was, but if you come, I'll tell you where it was. Here's a picture of professional miners on Stackhouse Mountain. We actually have the inventory of everything that was on Stackhouse Mountain when it was being sold. We have a picture there of one of the first movie theaters in Shickshinny. And also we have some pictures here of other mining operations in Teasdale, Mackinac. We have a picture, there's Alden on the very top. And here we have Avondale. And Avondale is a very interesting story. We have different books on mining things, and one of the books that I'm going to suggest that you come to the library, Cheryl has these, Growing Up in Coal Country. And it's about these young kids, breaker boys, as young as 6, 7 years old, that went into the mines to work. They generally never got an education because they had to work to put food on the table to keep their families alive. And it's a very interesting book. It tells about these boys, the different jobs that they had in the mines, and some of them had to be in charge of the mules there. And there's an interesting story about one boy and his mule. So come to the Cheryl's Library. You can take this book out. It's a great book to read. It gives a lot of history of what these young people went through growing up that never got an education. And then we have pictures of Avondale, which was right outside of Plymouth. And we also have another book about mining disasters. This was one of the first ones there that there was a bunch of men and boys that died in this mines. And the reason they died because it only had one entrance into it. And it caught on fire. They couldn't get out. And so after that, there became a law that all mines had to have 2 exits or 2 entrances. So if something like this happened again, they would be able to get out. We also have some pictures. Here is Glen Lyon. Was the second largest breaker in the world. And not far from here on the other side of Mackinac. And this actually burnt down. A guy sent these pictures, and there's a picture showing of this breaker burning down. So there's still some different places where you could see mining operations. This is Sugar Notch, which is not far from Glen Lyon. This is a great picture showing the mules pulling the cars out, trains of some breaker boys. There's a picture of Glen Lyon that we just talked about. And then here's a picture of the breaker boys. And this shows what one of the jobs that they did in this, where they were able to have to sit there all day. A guy with the whip stood over them. They were responsible for getting out the rocks and separating the rocks and everything from the coal. Many of them died from black lung, just like miners did, because they sit there in this black coal dust. And as I said, many of them never got an education. So there. Here's breaker boys from Kingston. Here's the first fire truck in Mackinac. And then we have the bridges, one of 3 wooden bridges that was built across the bridge there. And here you can see there was a toll to cross that bridge. And then, of course, we have one of the older things, the entertainment. This used to be how you got your entertainment going back. And I'm going to play a little something here. This one actually still plays. This is Victrola, made by RCA. And so that you heard was Serenading You was Frank Sinatra in his early years. And this was donated by Steve's Antiques down the road. They've donated different items, as did Jake Beluda, another antique collector. And what's unique about this, there were American records on one side and Polish records on the other side. So whoever owned this apparently came from Poland. So there. Now I'm going to show you the first newspaper printed in Shickshinny. Cheryl got this cabinet for us, so we're able to display this. And here it is, the first paper, the Shickshinny Democrat. It was from 1892 to 1897, and it only lasted that many years, but it was very interesting. We found this at the antique shop, and to find the original copy, this was #1 copy there. We have another copy of it from a later time period and stuff. Okay, so here we have Cheryl, who's president of the Historical Society, and Karen, who's the assistant executive director of the library. They work very hard to getting kids in. This is a free library. There's over 9,000 books, and Karen's going to give you a little tour of the library and stuff. Okay, Karen, take over.
So we started the library 3 years ago. Our schools had to shut down their libraries, and we felt that kids really needed a library, especially little kids need books in their hands. So Cheryl wrote a grant, and we received a grant to start the library. And this is the Shickshinny Children's Library. We have almost 10,000 books. We have hours during the day through the week and on Saturdays for the children, and one evening night on Wednesday for the children. We provide story time for them, activities, especially in the summertime. We're very busy, and we have three rooms right now, and we're working on the 4th room in the back. So we have anything you can imagine. We have collections from all the major authors. We have books here for children that are learning to read, all different levels for them. If you want to follow us over here, we'll show you this room. These are for our 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade children. We also have the back room, which I'll show you for the older kids. Over here we have history books, we have sports books, we have science books. We have everything you can imagine for the kids. Our back room is where we have our story time. These are also the books for our older students. We do have some older kids, 16, 17, that do stop down, especially in the summertime. We have our story time here, poetry over there, crafts we do in here. We set up a table. We're working on the back room right now, which will be for adults. We have a high-rise in Shickshinny that have a lot of elderly that like to read, so we're going to work on that and have that open shortly for them. We also coordinate with the schools when we can to have special events for them, and that's our children's library. We're very proud of it.